I feel quite privileged to even be doing this. Alistair Thompson was meant to be doing this, but he had a headache. And the great thing about doing the PSA launch, seriously, my lefty cred is complete. No one, if Greenpeace ever ring, I can just say, hey, I did this. So it's interesting. Who here is? Do you S the P? Is this, or are you the P? No, you're the S. You're the A. That's great. It's. I tell you what, my impression of public servants has all been gliding on. Yes, Minister. And James Bond. So that's all I know about public servants. And when my agent rang and said the PSA want you to speak at this thing, I was like, my country is calling. I couldn't say no. It's great to be in a room where you see the nanny state. And I think we need more. I want a dominatrix state. I've been bad. And I know why the PSA called me. I know what you're all thinking. You're thinking, Raybon, we need a leader. And we need some good loving. It's not really relevant, but we need a leader. Anyone here from, are you all from the government? No. Anyone, all right, anyone here from the IRD? I know what the IRD people are thinking. They're thinking, Raybon, why don't you have an IRD number? Anyone here from ACC? You're thinking, Raybon, you're looking really healthy for someone who's had that many accidents. Anyone here from health? You're thinking, Raybon, why do you need so many flu tablets? Anyone here from WINS? Thinking, okay. Anyone here from Treasury? Of course not. Anyone here from corrections? You're thinking, Raybon, why do you need so many cell phones? Actually, if you're from corrections, you're probably thinking you need a cigarette. So I wonder about this whole, did you hear about the Navy guy? How can you be too drunk to be in the Navy? How drunk is that? Isn't it like a job requirement? Anyone here from DOC? You're probably thinking if the wine is organic. So what a day, historic day. Hone was sworn in. I never thought he had a problem swearing. So let me just tell you what's going to happen. We're going to be, there's going to be 3 speeches, and I'm just going to be telling you useful stuff in between. And I think at this time, you represent the infrastructure. You represent what happens if you fall through the cracks, and that's how you judge a country. I think it's not how good it gets when you're at the platinum rewards VIP section of society. It's how good it is at the bottom. When you walk in the door, the entitlement of the basic people. And I do wonder right now, who's running New Zealand? Seriously, we have this. I'm a little suspicious about this. Yeah, that's right. Mr. Aftershock. If he would stop walking around Christchurch, they'd be they're pretty. I'm not saying he's fat, but honestly, who is running New Zealand? I think Warner Brothers is running New Zealand. 3 strikes? If it was a New Zealand law, it would be 10 wickets. Everything we take from America, The Apprentice. How bad is the country when the guy on The Apprentice is poor? And honestly, we can't even do our version of you're not allowed in this country to say you're fired. You have to say you have a written warning. So, which is good. Hey, I'm not disagreeing. I just said it. I'm not really sure how I feel about unions because my parents had a bad experience with the Communist Party. But that's, which is why they came here illegally. They came here illegally. This is actually true. Anyone here from immigration? My parents are illegal immigrants. We don't call them that anymore. We call them parallel imports. So we're going to have some speeches, and you're going to learn some stuff, and then I'm just the glue, and then we can drink. I know you've already started. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the PSA President, Paula Scholes.
Well, with an intro like that, I can't lose, can I? So welcome everybody, our PSA members and staff, our fellow unionists, members of Parliament, and our friends from the Public and Community Services Organisation. It's really great and heartening to see such an amazing turnout, and it's going to be a brilliant start at the PSA's election campaign. This campaign launch is happening at a time when public services right across New Zealand are facing what we and others are calling death by 1,000 cuts. So it'll be no surprise that the PSA and our members are stepping up to support public services, to lead a campaign against further cuts. The spending cuts this government has introduced have been devastating for many of our members and the New Zealand public that they serve. Our members reflect the wider spectrum of all New Zealanders. We have members working for little more than the minimum wage as caregivers for the elderly and disabled. We have policy analysts without whom we would have no machinery of government. We have scientists like myself who help grow our economy by developing new products to sell to the rest of the world and who help make New Zealand a healthier, better place to live and to raise families. Our 58,000 members do a great job. International comparisons consistently show New Zealand public servants are honest, trustworthy and deliver great value for money. But they can't keep doing a great job if the kind of cuts we have seen so far keep happening. We need a healthy core of public services to keep this country working. And this isn't just about saving our members' jobs. Cuts to public services affect all New Zealanders, especially our children, the most vulnerable, and at a time when they can least handle it. Cutting services also does nothing to help build our economy. This government needs a better plan for jobs and services that will help us all build a better, fairer New Zealand, one where everyone can access the services they need when they need them. And we want to contribute our ideas and expertise to that plan. We're the biggest union in the country, and we have the intellectual grunt to help develop the kind of policy solutions that are needed to get us through these tough times. But we won't be telling our 58,000 members how to vote. However, we will be encouraging them, their families, and the rest of New Zealand to vote for parties which promise to invest in public and community services, not to cut them. Parties that commit to holding on to our community-owned assets, not to flogging them off. So our election campaign will be telling you all about the great public services that our members provide. And they'll be the ones who take this campaign out to their communities and their workplaces, talking about what they do for all New Zealanders. As a union, the PSA is very proud to be leading this campaign on behalf of public and community services and the people who deliver them, because effective, efficient public services are core to any good democracy. They ensure that society runs fairly. They provide the level playing field that businesses need to compete. Effective and sensible regulation protects both citizens and businesses alike. Chip it away and you invite disasters like leaky homes and finance company collapses or worse. We think that New Zealanders deserve better, and we look forward to seeing you and working with you out on the campaign trail.
Paula Scholes, everyone? Anyone here from the Privacy Commission? Probably not allowed to say. So Obama, so they're going to pay their debt. They had to raise the ceiling, and I think that's also raising. Isn't it incredible that they were even considering not raising the debt ceiling. Because really, the time to not raise the debt ceiling is probably before you've spent the money. Don't you think? Because otherwise they're thinking it's a dine and dash. That's what they're thinking. And can you imagine what would have happened if yesterday, they hadn't paid their armed forces? I would look forward to a movie where the Marines collect their pay. It's called Payday. This time it's fiscal. And they tunnel in. That was my holiday pay. That's one of the really important scenes. A lot of things happening in the world, the IMF. I really think the DSK case, that's going to prove to be seminal. See, they're listening. So, I don't know, we're always told the government has no money. And it's ridiculous because there are a lot of things that the government could give us that would cost them nothing. And one is something that I know we all know about, that would be highly prized, and it's something we've all known about since we were children. The government could start selling the get out of jail free card from Monopoly. I think people would pay a lot for that. A lot. Some people would pay a ton of money for the. Seriously, though, imagine. Some people would pay $1 million for the get out of jail free card. There would be times where if you get arrested, you'd think, oh, don't want to waste it on this. I want to do the time. And then your lawyer would say, well, maybe you should try and roll 3 doubles. At which point you might try and get another lawyer. Is anyone here from corrections? I really think one of the things that undermines corrections is the idea of home detention. How's that a punishment? Oh, maybe if you don't have broadband. And I do think one of the things that concerns me, speaking of law and order and the infrastructure, people are actually escaping from prison, which makes no sense. How is it possible to escape from maximum security prison? By definition, it should be maximum. It's obviously not maximum if someone... I'll tell you what maximum security would be. Cut their arms and legs off, put them in a jar, drizzle some olive oil in the jar so they can't even wiggle out. We will poke holes in the lid. Human rights. I used to be a lawyer. I know. And actually you're thinking, why am I not wearing this pink and black balloon thing? I actually am, but the photographic negative of that. Are you ready for your next actually content-filled speech? All right, fine. Hey, look, I'm wondering why I'm here too. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your next speaker, the one of the national secretaries of the PSA, Richard Wagstaff.
Thank you, Raybon, and hi everyone. Great to see so many people here. I'm going to talk a bit about the political and economic environment and the cuts we've been facing over the last couple of years, briefly before handing over to Brenda, who's going to talk about the campaign that we're going to be running. Clearly, we know we're living in tough times. We don't need to read the papers about that. We find that out from our members. Times are hard, jobs are down, pressures on our members, and cost of living is rising. But let's not be fooled into thinking that these times are a good excuse for the sort of political policies we're seeing dressed up as pragmatism. They're not at all. Policies like cutting government spending, cutting public services, squeezing health budgets, privatising and so on, have been promoted as the only sensible answer to the predicament New Zealand's in. But if you think about it, these are exactly the same policies we've heard come hell or high water. It doesn't matter what situation we're in, the same people in that political part of the political spectrum say, we've got to cut the government, the economy's overheating. We've got to cut government spending because the economy's diving. We've got to cut the state because somehow it's an enemy of the people. And that small government, cutting public services, cutting taxes and privatisation is the same old recipe, and it's really ideology and political faith. It's not about addressing New Zealand's problems. And what we need is a proper discussion about that. Somehow we're being led to believe that public services are somehow bad for the public. sort of an oxymoron, isn't it? That somehow egalitarianism is really the politics of envy. That somehow we should sell our own assets, our own profitable assets, to the stock market because they need something to spark them up over there where they can't find anything to do with their money. You know, it really just doesn't make sense, and we need some proper discussion about that. The constant pitching of the public service and the state versus the public interest as a zero-sum game is ridiculous. And it really needs to be, we don't buy into that political rhetoric. A strong state sector supports social and economic prosperity. It is not an enemy of those things. About this time in the political cycle 3 years ago, we had National promising a steady as she goes sort of, agenda. Don't worry about it. We had John Key come to our National Congress, and he made quite a lot of commitments. He said, and I quote, "Our tax cuts will not require cuts to public services." End of quote. He said he'd maintain public sector staffing levels. He said there'd be along the campaign trail, there'd be no changes to KiwiSaver, working for families, interest-free for student loans, no increase to GST. I won't even go on. And what we got was a tax switch from the poor to the rich, and an overall tax reduction of something like $4.5 billion, which has had to be funded by cuts, well, they say has to be funded by cuts to public services and not through borrowing. And obviously this stuff affects our members as much or more than anyone else, both as citizens of New Zealand, but people who are having to work in a very tightly constrained environment. They're under attack, and there's a very long list of public sector jobs and services that have gone that I haven't got time to read, but it's like 2,000 jobs in the government departments alone. Now with the latest budget, we're hearing another $980 million, nearly $1 billion to come out of state spending over the next 3 years. All dressed up as this is what we have to do because there's no alternative. And I think we've heard that there's no alternative rubbish before in times gone by. There are alternatives. A strong public service and an active government working for the good of all New Zealand citizens, not just a few, to deliver on programs that support social and economic prosperity. Sure, New Zealand has a debt problem, but it's not like Greece, Ireland, Spain and Italy and so on, or the US. It's a private debt problem. New Zealand government books are good, very good. Most countries would give their eye teeth for the state of our public and government accounts, thanks to the clever management, I would say, over the years before. In this context, cutting public services and selling assets doesn't add up at all. In fact, the state is in a good position to maintain spending, maintain investment and jobs, instead of leading us into the doldrums, which they seem to be doing. So there needs to be a strong voice against the cuts, and a strong voice for better public services and community services, and for the people who deliver them. And we want to make sure and really push for a genuine debate on those issues. So we're launching a campaign, and after Raybon, Brenda will be speaking about that campaign. Thank you.
Thanks. Tall guy. Thank you, Richard. Now I will distract you again with irrelevance. I was thinking this is not going to work, and now I'm doing it. It is not working. But all right, you can just pretend that this is an ad break. Okay, so I think I'm right. I'm not pandering, but I do think this whole the American debt ceiling problem happened because they had to bail out the banks, and the reason they had to bail out the banks, or chose to, is because they didn't regulate the banks, and they let these people come up with science fiction derivatives that were a complete invention. And then 6 months after they got bailed out, they gave themselves bonuses.
That's capitalism.
And how can America have a problem? I'll tell you, America shouldn't have a money problem. They would definitely not have a money problem if they taxed weapons manufacturers. Hilarious. So I don't know, what sort of country do we want? I want a country where refugees are treated the way penguins are. And I think one of the things that sums it up is this whole thing, iPads at Orewa College. It's often in the news, if anything starts with the word Orewa, it's going to be terrible, isn't it? You just know. It started with Orewa, it's going to be stupid. Why do they need iPads? I mean, seriously, we're concerned that in the future, kids aren't going to be good enough at Angry Birds. Is that what we need? In my day, PlayStation was playing at the station. Wii was not something you did in the living room. Xbox was a box that something came in, an Xbox. I just want to finish on I guess a personal note, because I always feel like it's my responsibility to mention this, that race never seems to go away. I did an event for a government department I'd never even heard of. Ethnic affairs. Go figure. It exists. Who knew? And the audience was very much not like this. The audience was very ethnic. They were like, if the audience had been on TV, they would be on Sunday at 7 a.m. That was the, and I was at this thing and I was looking at the audience thinking, wow, I'm really screwed getting a taxi after this. But if I fall over and need a doctor, I'll be fine. I was at the airport, and I actually am a member of a union that'll come out. I was at the airport watching the news. This is going to bum you out a little bit. The tsunami. I was watching the coverage of the tsunami. I was just at the airport waiting to get on a plane, and then a guy, you know the coverage, that sort of, is that a car? Is that a building? It was like ridiculous. And then a white guy came up to me and says, "Is your family okay?" He reached out to me. His heart was in the right place. And I'm thinking, I don't think that's Masterton. I think they're okay. But he was reaching out. That is what that situation does. He was reaching out. And it's not like Chinese people and Japanese people. We are cousins, right? Obviously cousins who bomb and rape each other, but cousins. Not necessarily a family reunion you want to go to. But race never seems to go. So I'm a member of a union. Did I mention this? And I went to a union meeting about The Hobbit. And let me paint to you what this union meeting is like. It's like the most gung-ho people from Spartacus getting to the front and giving these speeches. We will fight them all the way until we get, whatever. It was like, and I was like hiding at the back because I was thinking, I don't want to offend Peter Jackson. Seriously, this is what I did. I was like, so the union meeting's going nuts like Braveheart, and I'm like, anyone need a coffee? I'll get a coffee. Are you okay? I'll get you some water. I was like, so I'm afraid, as if I was ever going to get a role in The Hobbit. How racist is Middle Earth? If you're not white, you're an orc. Their idea of races is elves, Rohan, humans, hobbits. They're not races, they're heights of white people. The only way I would get a role in The Hobbit is if suddenly there's a greengrocer in Hobbiton telling Frodo that they need vitamins for this very long walk. It'll be, Mr. Frodo, you must eat a vegetable. You walk long way, little leg, big feet. You must walk. I give you a good deal on the vegetable. I don't think that's in it. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, the other National Secretary of the PSA, go crazy, Brenda Highland!
Well, there's no way that's the ad break, is there? So, conscious that I'm the only thing standing between you guys and getting back into the bar, I'm just going to do... I know how important that is to trade unionists. I'm just going to talk very briefly about the election campaign that we're going to be running. You've heard Paula and Richard talk, and you know that there are really serious issues in front of us, despite some of the jokes this evening. This election is a really serious matter for us. The PSA has registered as a third party under the Electoral Act. We've been working really hard over the last year and a half to build the campaign that we're launching tonight. Over that time, we've been busy taking the message out to our members, to our delegates. We've held meetings with community organisations up and down the country, and we'll be doing that from now through to the election and beyond that. Now we're about to step up a gear. We've been working with an ad agency, the Toot Group, to develop our campaign branding and messaging, and we're really pleased to have the folks from Toot here with us tonight. And we're really excited by the work that we've been doing together. We're very much hoping that this is going to kickstart the conversation our country badly needs about the kind of society and economy we want. A new campaign blog site, www.keepnzworking.co.nz, is now live. So take a look at that tonight or tomorrow and add your voice to the conversation. We're going to be running adverts in the newspapers and magazines, and we've got ads going up in billboards and in bus shelters. And of course, if you didn't notice it, there's a huge, great banner outside this building. It's a great billboard site, this building. The campaign, though, is not just about advertising, and it's not just about online blogs, it's also about people. And we're going to be seeking the support of the public and community to be champions for this campaign. And we've already got 4,500 people signed up onto our website to be active supporters of the campaign. And we know that a good number of you are here tonight, so I want to say thank you to all of you for the work you've done so far. You really are the heart and soul of our campaign. So we're hoping to give you some good ammunition so that throughout the election campaign you can take these messages out to your workplaces and to your communities. So I want to say thank you, all of you, for coming. I hope you enjoy the rest of the evening. It's really good to know that we've got so many good friends in what is going to be quite a challenging battle ahead. So now what I want to do is to give you a sneak preview of the campaign that's going to start tomorrow with adverts that are going to be running in the Herald, and if they print it, the Dominion Post.